All right, folks, it's me, Cole Poots. Don't trip. Simpson, Simpson College, we got a rep. Somebody's knocking on the door. It's not for me. Today's topic of choice by yours truly is a review of the Netflix documentary Social Dilemma. I just watched it last night and I gotta tell you guys, I am completely terrified. Hey, I was already not really a big fan of checking my phone. I've had all the social media apps except Snapchat off of my phone for a while now. Like, usually I'll only go check them if it's on the computer. But this documentary really does a good job of freaking us out, terrifying us of like the really bad negative consequences that social media and just technology in general has caused for humanity. It's not all doom and gloom. There is some hope at the end. So I'm just going to talk about it, how it made me feel, kind of like my own experiences and journey with trying to get away from technology use or social media in general. But before we get started, talking about phones, I wanted to show you guys my new phone case. It is the great Joe Rogan. I think this case is amazing. I bought it off of Redbubble, I think is what it's called. Yeah. Which they sell like stickers, posters, like all that stuff. I got my wall tapestry of Mac Miller. Some of you may have seen that in my podcast episodes. I got that from Redbubble. I've gotten a bunch of stickers from there. And now I have a Joe Rogan phone case. So yeah, I just wanted to give a little shout out to them because they have really cool, unique products. And I think there's like artists that make these, stickers, phone cases, whatever have you. So it's just cool to support those people because they gift me cool, interesting stuff that I wouldn't be able to find anywhere else. So, anyways, I got my coffee. I have The Social Dilemma. It's on Netflix. I don't know when it was released, but I had heard a bunch of stuff about it. I had heard other people talk about it. I've heard Joe Rogan talk about it on his podcast, and I was like, well, it seems really interesting for one, so I got to check it out. But it is terrifying. Like the direction that they take it, pretty much all throughout is really interesting, and they highlight a lot of what social media has done to us. And it's crazy because none of us, I'm not going to say none of us because this documentary, whoever watches it now is completely aware of it, but social media has this really weird tendency to control us. And the people that have designed these applications and whatnot, like even emails and stuff like that, is they've made them highly addictive. The way that they work, how their algorithms work, and how they play on the psychology of human beings. And so, this is probably something, again, that I don't know if everybody knows it or notices it when they're on their phone, but you can get sucked into that thing very quickly, like on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those apps, like even YouTube. I mean, I think YouTube is the lesser extent of social media. I don't even know if I would classify it as social media, but there's been times where, and I'm a lot better at it now, but like when I was younger, first getting exposed to that stuff, like you could just go down the rabbit hole of YouTube videos and then it keeps recommending videos based on what you just previously watched. And so it's enticing you to continue watching, to continue clicking, to continue to stay on their app. And that's the whole, one of the biggest highlights or talking points that they make in this documentary is like these apps are literally designed to keep you on them. I mean, that's how they make their money. Like everything's a business in this world, and so that's good. Like these companies are making businesses and whatnot, but like the profit margin of what they're making off of like billions of people that are using their app. It's kind of crazy because there was one guy, he was like one of the main dudes that gets interviewed in this documentary, and he's saying, there's like 30 to 50 software designers in Silicon Valley, white, particularly white males, and they are determining the usage of billions of people using these apps. And like when you sit and think about that, it's actually kind of eye popping to get that visual. I mean, it's not that he even gave a visual. Well, there is a visual in the documentary, but like as soon as he says that, you sit there and you just kind of absorb that. You're like, that's kind of fucking crazy that they have that influence, to all these people that are using the app. But I don't know. I mean, I think it was for the last few years, like since 2018 is when I really started to get my life together and get rid of things that weren't working. And I mean, I grew up with social media, so yeah, like I was addicted, like especially in high school. I spent so much time on that thing, and but it was normal and everybody else was doing it, so you didn't question it. But that's the thing is like we didn't know what these technologies were capable of making us do, making us feel. Like that's the sinister part of it, is that these apps are changing our behavior. They're causing us to be more addicted, and you almost feel like you can't get off of these things, or like you know people are starting to become more depressed. So they brought on, I think his name's Jonathan Haidt, and he's been on a Joe Rogan podcast before. But he talks about how the amount of teenage girls that have committed suicide in the last decade or so, really at the rise of social media. I mean, I know it was there before 2010, but I'm just saying for the last decade, it's crazy. Like the numbers are staggering, and the amount of girls that have, little girls, high school age girls, middle school age girls, and probably even elementary, have taken their lives because really the advent of social media. Like that's one of the things about girls that's different from guys, is that they tend to harm each other's reputations, whereas guys or like boys, they tend to be more physically aggressive. I'm not saying that they can't harass other boys on social media, but girls, I think, do it at a much more rapid rate. So that's why they're more prone to like depression, or like feeling insecure because of what other girls had said on Facebook. And it's just creating unrealistic expectations, because people are starting to now, I'm pretty sure they coined a term in the documentary called like Snapchat dysmorphia or something. Like people or girls, whoever, are trying to get like plastic surgery to look more like the filters on Snapchat. Like that is scary, man. That is weird because it's a filter. It's taking us away from our natural humanistic qualities. And I like the way that they talk about it in the documentary. They say that these applications and these phones at large are eroding the fabric of society, of just what it means to be a human. And I think you're seeing that. Like they've done, and I will say that social media has done a bunch of good for us as humans, to be able to connect in ways that we've never been able to before. But then the dark flip side of the coin is like it's making people addicted, obsessed, depressed, anxious, more polarized, more tribalistic. And that's another thing. Like they talk about how politics is becoming more and more divisive, and it's no wonder that like the phones are in some way insinuating that, because th- these technologies, these apps are designed to make your reality, your viewpoints be more accessible to you. So you could be on Facebook, you could be Googling something, and you like this page about this politician, or like, if you're a Republican or Democrat, these apps will then start to generate and feed you more of your worldview. And so you're not getting exposed to the opposing side. And you're seeing that now. So many people are on each extreme of Democrat and Republican, and they don't want to talk to each other. They hate each other. They don't want to see eye to eye. And it's like, it's crazy because all these people, and not just politics, this is all sorts of issues that you could find yourself getting into on social media, but they're in their own little pocket of reality, or their ideology, that's probably a better word to use, and they won't compromise, they won't talk, they won't have a productive disagreement. And it's like, opinions are fine, it's okay to have opinions, but opinions are not actually fact based all the time, and that doesn't mean that you're always right. And that's why it's so important to have constructive conversations with each other where we agree on some basic norm. And that's what we're losing touch with as humans, with reality being on our phones. We're in our own separate versions of reality. So it's no wonder as to why none of us can get along with each other. It's just crazy. I mean, again, I already kind of knew how ugly social media was, and I have been taking a stance for like I said, the last years, I'm gonna say roughly, is where I just slowly started to inch my way away from social media. So yeah, it's just scary. And I know a lot of people I know personally, like I know family members that this is the case. I have family members that have become obsessed with politics and looking at things that are fake news. But if you keep looking at fake news, your Facebook feed is going to keep generating that for you. You're not, again, like I said, you're not getting exposed to other people's views, so you start to feel like your viewpoint, since you're seeing so many people that agree with you, you're like, what is the point? The person on the opposing side is crazy. The liberals started, or I think there was some article that was saying how, like the Democrats started the coronavirus, and that's where it gets really weird. And I mean, this documentary goes into even more extreme examples of how fake information, misinformation, those sorts of things start on Facebook. Conspiracy theories have drove division in other countries, ones that are a lot more susceptible to threat than the United States is. But I mean, they bring on all these people that they interview in this documentary, and sorry, I have to get some coffee. They ask them, what are you afraid of happening in the near future if we continue to use these things like the way that we are? And there's one guy, I forget his name, but he comes, and I've seen him on YouTube before too, talking about trying to get people to get off of social media. Um, but he says in 20 to 30 years, if we continue to act like we are, with a vast majority of people consumed by this thing, addicted to this thing, he said, I could see us entering a civil war. I mean, even humanity itself ends. I mean, again, it sounds kind of like doom and gloom for a major portion of this documentary, but I think that that's the context in which we have to talk about these things. Because if we don't paint the negative picture, like the route where we go to hell, if we don't talk about that version of where this thing could head, it's not going to be severe enough. It's not going to hit a chord. It's not going to make people stop and think and pause and reassess how they're using these devices, if they should even be on social media, if it's even good for them. If you don't talk about it in that version where everything is done for and we end up destroying ourselves, it's not going to make people want to change. Oh my God, this cat is crazy. He has to always mess with my tapestry. But if I shut the door, he's just going to he's going to be clawing at the wood. So yeah, but there's hope too. There's a reason to be optimistic as well. And I think that I wouldn't consider myself addicted to technology at this point, but I'll say, I still have tough times where like I get a little too sucked in and I have to pull myself out. But this is what one of the guys in the documentary talks about too, is like he's like, I'm not expecting to, by me talking about this and by this documentary being made, I don't expect everybody to just stop, you know, being on their phones. Well, for one, because not everybody's going to watch the documentary, but even if we can get, whatever, let's say like 10% of the people that watch the documentary, get off social media or like put restrictions on it and whatnot to the point where they're not addicted anymore. It's like then we can carve out a lane of conversation between the people that aren't addicted to social media, and then and then you can talk to the people that are, and then we can start having discussions, and then once people see other people doing well, improving their life, not depressed anymore, not anxious, not fighting with family members, just getting back to a normal peace of mind, then that might encourage other people to come along as well. So it's crazy where the world is headed. And like, you look around you and it does seem like everything is in chaos. And it's like, is that actually true? Or what is that a result of? I think these phones are making us go mad. And I have short examples that I can give people, but like when I was living up in Ames last year, I moved up there at the end of July, and I lived there till about sometime in October. And me and my friend Dakota, we were doing meditation. And along with starting our meditation journey, him and I both decided that we were going to try and like put our phones away and reduce our screen time. At some point during, I can't remember how long we were meditating for because at some point we fell off, and then putting our phones away simultaneously, my screen time was down to like 30 minutes a day. I wasn't checking my phone that much at all. And I don't even think I was really on a whole lot of technology. And this was before the semester started, so I kind of had the opportunity to do that. We do live in a day and age where we can't completely get rid of these devices, but we just need to have some sort of control over them. But by me starting meditation and then putting my phone away, it was like these powers align, because for one, meditation is trying to teach you how to be present with your thoughts, but then also to be less distracted by your thoughts. Just be more attentive, be more aware. Your phone is the opposite of that. Your phone is a distractive force cutting into your attention, delaying productivity, just making it harder to accomplish all the things that you want to, like your goals, your ambitions, your dreams, your drives, businesses that you want to create, ideas that you want to work on. That's all getting in the way when you're on the phone. So this combination of starting to meditate, which is trying to get you less distracted, and then getting away from the phone that's automatically going to make you less distracted, I felt so peaceful. I felt so different, man. And like, I've always been an anxious person, and around that time I was going through some tough stuff. And part of my anxiety was that I would be like a really obsessive thinker, and I would think the same things over and over and over, and those things would just take control of me. And I was going through a breakup at that point, and I couldn't stop thinking about her. And then when we started doing meditation and getting rid of the phone, that obsessive voice about like everything that had upset me in the relationship, it just quieted down, and I didn't hear it anymore. And I was so surprised, and I actually thought from that moment that like I was moving on from her. Come to find out, it takes a lot longer to get over a relationship. It's not that quick. But it was a good start because it was getting me away from my obsessive anxious thoughts, and by being just so distracted and checking my phone, it was just making that worse. It was like a muscle. It was like this routine in my brain, and that's what it was used to. So it's no wonder I was more anxious. I was more depressed. I was scatterbrained. It was hard to focus on anything. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't expect that everybody would change their behaviors about how they use their phone, but I think it's pretty damn wise to. And I mean, if you're coming to my channel, if you've listened to my podcast, if you've watched my videos, I'm pretty open minded on many things. I don't have any one viewpoint on religion, on politics, or really anything like that. I'm really open to conversation. And like if you've watched my no fat videos, that stuff is kind of outlandish, but I think there's a whole lot of logic to be applied to it. And anytime I can find logic in reasoning, that's where I'm pretty much convinced. And I think there's an overwhelming amount of logic as to why you should get off your phone and live your freaking life, because that thing is just zapping you of energy. It's zapping, it's playing into your emotions. It's figuring out who you are. It knows you better than you know yourself, and it's making you an addicted person, and it's changing you. And that is the scary thing. You don't have control. You don't have control over it until, I mean, just again, being aware of like how bad it is for you. If you have to take a moment to stop and think, you've changed the cycle. No longer are you in the matrix. You've taken one foot out of the matrix. And even though that's not your entire body, that's a pretty important step, because now there's recognition as to what is going on to you. But yeah, if you're coming on my channel, chances are you're probably pretty open-minded, because that's all my content is. It's just the ideas that I have, the experiences that I have, and I'm just trying to help people. And if I can give you guys advice, if I can give you knowledge based on what I've experienced, it's only going to help more people, and I'm not trying to influence people. I'm not trying to change people, but like, I'm just trying with my channel, with my podcast, I'm trying to make a portion of this world better. And I know I'm not perfect, but we got to figure out ways to change, man. We got to be better. We got to talk to each other again. Like I said, there are pros and cons of almost anything that you do in this life. I don't think social media is entirely toxic and bad. I wouldn't be able to communicate my message if I didn't have YouTube. And then, so I promote that on my social media apps to all my friends and followers and stuff like that. It's great to connect with family. It's great to post. It's great to kind of showcase what you're excited about. But it's a small example of what actually goes on in your life. And I don't see many people posting the negative, the ugly, the grind that we constantly have to go through every day. You're highlighting, it's like all these accomplishments that you've had throughout your whole lifetime, but that's every time you post. And I'm speaking for a majority of people. Not everybody does that, but most people do. And if you're a depressed, lonely person that's not happy or content with where you're at, and you go on there and you see that, you're going to feel even worse. So that's where I feel like, we make this great argument that it's here to help people connect, but I think it's making people more isolated. Like, we rely on our phones so heavily, and we're not willing to engage with others. And that's scary, man, because that's literally how we evolved as people. Is we talked, we communicated with others. Like, we need that. That's a requirement to being a human being. I know I'm an extrovert, even though like sometimes I still get anxious because I'm a perfectionist, so sometimes it's hard to talk to people. But like, if I don't talk to people on a regular basis, if I don't add that into my life every day, just sit at my apartment and don't do anything, I feel like I'm withering away. And it's much easier to be prone to being anxious or depressed if I don't go out and I don't talk to people. So yeah, I guess just my conclusion or way to end this video is like, I'm not trying to scare people. I'm not trying to convince everybody to change. I'm just talking about what I analyzed in that documentary. And I think it just further cemented my beliefs. My beliefs were already that social media was bad. It does a lot more harm than good. You can still have it. I still have all my social medias, but we just got to get better at controlling it because, again, like I said, all these apps are driven to keep you on there for an extended period of time, throw you things that are going to make you want to click and stay, that intrigue your interest. So it's scary, but that's their model. That's how they make money. You're the product. You are what's being sold. And if you watch this documentary, you'll see it all. Everything that I talked about, they'll just go into further depth and explanation. I can't give you exactly what they said. I'm just giving you kind of like a spin off of what they said. So, anyways, yeah, those are my ideas. I hope you like this video, and new content will be on the way. Hopefully some more podcasts too. I'm trying to get people to come on. But anyways, thank you guys. I love you guys. I'll see you later. Forgot to say this after the video had already been recorded. Yeah, if you guys are new to the channel or if you've been watching my videos, I forget to say this every time, please like and subscribe to my channel. It's the way, talking about algorithms and influencing people off of social media, that's the YouTube algorithm. It would really help support my channel, and I forget to mention it every time. I feel like anytime that I am saying that, I'm reaching out for help. I'm reaching out for people to, you know, I guess, I don't know. It kind of feels like a handout. Like you're asking for likes, you're asking for subscribers, but at the same time, it's like I feel that a lot of people tend to forget to do that. So I never mention it, but I realized it's one of the ways it's going to help my channel grow. So just to keep being able to provide you guys with videos and just getting me to a point where I could start letting this become a way for me to make income. So if you guys would like my videos, share them and subscribe. It would mean a world to me and my little buddy Miller, who's on my lap, and I'm gonna show him right now. There he is. Say hi, bud. Say hi. Say hi to camera. Okay, go back to sleep. Okay. Okay. Bye. 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 Bye.